Now, I find it interesting. Our next guest was a member of the '08 Phillies, but he essentially had to, be told that you're no longer wanted here. He got released, designated by assignment for Kerry Wood.
I think that was Jim Hendry was the Cubs GM at the time. I think I had a conversation with Scott about this too. And he said, best thing he ever did for me.
There you go. He was designated for assignment to make room for Kerry Wood. You remember Kerry Wood, man?
I remember his debut with all those strikeouts. It was awesome.
He was coming off the DL. The Cubs let him go, and then they got traded to Philadelphia. And Scott Eyre, because of that, was able to.
Who did he get traded for?
Brian. Do you know who you got traded for, Scott?
Brian Schlitter.
There you go. Brian Schlitter.
And Kerry Wood was coming off the DL from blisters. He had some. They was nasty, by the way. I will attest to that. I saw them. They were gross looking. Had him on his middle finger and pointer finger on his throwing hand.
Wow. So what's Brian Schlitter up to these days? You got a World Series ring.
I have no idea. I think he was in Chicago for just a couple of years as well. So I needed to get out of Chicago. It was good for me to get somewhere where I could be with someone like Charlie that just said, here's the ball, young man, go pitch.
That's awesome. So, on August 5th, when you get designated for assignment, at that point, what's next for me? Or did you think that, hey, someone will pick me up?
At that point, I figured somebody would pick me up. My agent was very sure that somebody would pick me up. It was truly a case in Chicago of one of those things where Piniella and I weren't. It's not like I hate the man. We just didn't get along. He didn't have any trust in me to pitch. And we all know you can't get better at something or fix something if you don't actually do it. So I got here to Philly, and Charlie basically said, here, kid, here's the ball. We're going to throw you here 6th, 7th, 8th inning sometimes, give J.C. Romero a spell, and it all worked out for the best for me and for the club and the city. So
right. Well, in that year in Chicago, now you're 36 years old at the time. So it's not like you were a young guy getting ready to hit your peak. You're at the end of the line here. You were in 19 games in Chicago, 7.15 ERA, but you come to Philly in 19 appearances, 1.88. Why? Is it just essentially having a role and understanding it?
Well, if you look. You can look at the numbers and say, man, why'd you have to bring that up at 7 ERS? If you look a little deeper into that, I had to toot my own horn a little, I had just set a Cubs record for appearances in a row without any runs scored. And I gave up a run in Toronto with the first one of the season I'd give up. It carried over from 7 to 8 in the year. And then all of a sudden I gave up 4 or 5 runs to Baltimore, I think, in interleague, and it went from my ERA it was 7 right after that. There's nothing I could do about it in 19 games. I only had probably 10 or 11 innings.
Yeah, 11.1.
Seven spot for a late inning reliever or a spot reliever like myself is hard to get rid of.
No doubt about it.
But I got here, and I got an opportunity with a fresh start, and I took advantage of it.
Yeah, and, it's funny because that team, of all the teams, the 09, you had 10, 11, that might have been the team that was the one that you would least expect to win the World Series. And, of course, none of the other ones ever did. So what would you say coming into that team, in midseason, or I guess late in the season, what was it about that team that they were able to do it and the 9, 10, and 11 team was not?
It's that silly old saying, the cliche is we were a team. We were – every bit of team as you could possibly be. Did we have the most? I think we were better in 09. And then they got better with Halladay when he joined the team in 2010, for goodness sakes. They lost it that year. They lost a tough game to the Cardinals, that 1-0 game when Howard got hurt. The year before that, we lost to the Yankees. But in a way that it was weird when I got here. When I first got here, I was used to Chicago. Nice, tiny, small little clubhouse. You basically know when everybody goes to the bathroom, when everybody picks their nose. In Philly here, you get here, and I walk in, and I see how everything kind of goes the first day. Just kind of sit in my locker, talk. Chooch was right next to me, and I had Durbin and Condrey and Myers, all those guys right next to me. And you kind of watch everybody, and no one ever – it's weird to say it. Nobody was really talking to each other during the day. Everybody kind of went out about their business. This one guy was hitting in the cages all day with his hair slicked back, Chase. And
he wasn't talking.
Howard no, he wasn't talking, just hitting, just doing his job. But that's what it was. Everybody kind of just did their job, and it almost looked like it sounds weird, almost looked like a bunch of little busy ants doing their jobs until the game started. And then they turned into like warriors. It was I know it sounds silly or whatever, but from an outsider, those first couple of days in August when I got here looking in, That's what it looked like. It looked like a completely different animal on the field than it was in the clubhouse. In the clubhouse, they were screaming obscenities at Burl. Someone else is doing something stupid, and then all of a sudden the game turns on, and it's all business. And that is something I hadn't experienced in my time in the big leagues. At that time, I had 8 or 9 years already, and I hadn't seen anything like that. It was pretty neat. And it was a day in and day out. Like, you'd see guys laughing and joking for 4 hours before a game, right? Mm-hmm. 20 minutes before the game time, there was no more laughing and joking in the dugout or in the clubhouse. It was time to go, time to start. And as soon as the game was over, whether we won or lost, which I thought was awesome too, whether we won or lost, that laughter and that jokingness and that goofiness was all back. It was cool. It was cool to watch.
Scott Eyre is our guest on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, member of the 2008 World Series Phillies, joined the team in August to be a part of that team, and then, of course, they ended with the World Series. And, Scott, I know you're still close to some of those guys. You mentioned Condrey a minute ago. You guys are still up to the same acts, right?
Yeah, same stuff. There's a group text of probably there's myself, Durbin, Madsen, Lidge, Coast, Condrey, probably forgetting someone that's in it. At one point, Bruntlett or Dobbs was probably in it. And we just kind of just put stuff in there once in a while, and all of a sudden it starts a barrage of stuff. Make fun of Madsen for still playing, still hanging on. He's actually doing really well, so it's not a lot of fun making of him. But
how do you get removed? How do you get bounced from the group text? Like, does somebody say, take me off this list, or do you like, hey, I don't want to talk to you?
Oh, yeah. Some guys do, because when you get Clay going, Clay starts coming up with one-liners, and then all the what are they called, the GIFs and the memes and all this other stuff, they all come out, and people have I said, I'm out of this group text. You can actually leave them. You can put them on silent, but it's no fun, because when you really need something, like my son is at Purdue, my oldest one, and he was doing some kind of dance charity thing for a local foundation, and I put in that group text, hey, blah, 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 can you help my kid out? And, you get guys like Lidge that give you $1,000 or something. Right. When you're expecting like 50, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm staying in contact with those guys. You kidding me?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Scott Eyre's our guest. Hey, Scott, this is going to be a little off-the-wall question, but I look back through the way the games went. Was there a bullpen ride from, like, L.A. to San Diego where all the relievers got together? Was that your year?
Yes, that was 09.
Okay.
We did that in 09.
09, okay.
Called the pen. Yeah, the pen. That was some kind of fun. That was a Chan Ho Park Unleashed event.
Fun equals debauchery, right? I mean, how much can you tell us?
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. We tried to order tacos at some kind of taco time or some taco place, and because the van we were in, the limo bus or whatever, wouldn't fit underneath, and so we couldn't order anything, and they wouldn't serve us without a car.
Right.
To drive through, you have to have a car, which is really stupid. So we ended up paying some people that were going through the line to buy us food. We kept telling them, don't you guys know Brad Lidge? This is Brad Lidge.
Right. Perfect season last year. The guy never messed up. Yeah. 41 to 41.
No, go back to Lidge. I have said before, Scott, that year, 08, he's perfect, that might be the most important season that the franchise has ever had. I mean, this guy, if he slips up one time, you guys maybe don't win that World Series. Like, what was it like being around him, like, as he's, like, 38 for – you know what I'm saying? Like, as he's 35 for 35. Like, man, like, was it like he's throwing a no-hitter every day? No one wants to talk to him?
You want to know a funny story? I didn't know that when we were here, when I first got here. You didn't really – ESPN or whoever back then didn't – I don't know if anyone had talked about, Brad Lidge through August is perfect in saves with 35 or something. I don't remember hearing anything about it. And we were at home one time. I don't remember, something happened, and someone said, it might have been someone in the bullpen or someone upstairs, and one of the fans might have yelled, going for 40, don't blow it, or don't ruin the perfect, or something like that, or whatever it was. Maybe it was going for 50. I don't remember. How many do you have in the regular season? Whatever it was. Anyway.
38 in the regular.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it might have been for like 35 or 30 in the regular season or something, and I'm like, what's that guy yelling? And Durbin goes, well, I'll tell you after the game. I can't tell you now. He couldn't tell me during the game. So after the game, he told me. I think it was Durbin and Condrey both telling me about it. I was like, oh, all right. That makes me a little nervous next time I got to pitch. They're like, why? Well, I don't want to blow a game where he could get a save and doesn't get one. So, no, I understood what the whole bridge to Lidge meant, get the ball. And I had heard that from Dan Plesac back in the day, who was a Philly and been around. He used to talk about Your job as a reliever is, yes, to get the guy out, but your job as a reliever in the long run is to get the ball to the closer. That's it. Let him do his job. Get the ball to the closer, limited damage, do your job. And that's what it was like in that bullpen. And with Mick Billmeyer running the show down there, keeping things lively yet, insane. And then all of a sudden you got to focus and get it locked back down. He did it perfectly. So it was a lot of fun to be part of.
Scott Eyre is our guest. Scott, you bring up names, and it just triggers memories for me. You bring up Mick Billmeyer, and I think about him with, like, the binoculars out in the one, and had we not had social media, I mean, that might have just gone unnoticed. But, I mean, what a character. Tell us about some of the characters in that pen.
Mick's one of the funniest people I ever met in the bullpen. I played with another guy named Art Kushner. It's been around a long time. He was up there with Mick. But in that bullpen, I mean, I think even – the most serious of anyone that was ever down there had to laugh and joke around Mick, because that's the easiest way, in my opinion, to handle 162 games and sitting out there with 5 or 6 other guys. Those guys change in and out more than anyone. The bullpen, I think bullpens, throughout the course of baseball, change who's out there for how many games or whatnot throughout the course of the year more than anyone. But, it was just – they were all pranksters out there. I mean, we're ordering chicky and Pete's during the game. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like, we're ordering fries. You want some? Fries? No, we go in the bathroom and eat them.
How did they deliver them? They ran them down in a bucket? Like, I mean, how would they?
They just drop them right down the sidewall. It's awesome.
Now, Scott, you played.
It would be like 10-0, and Madsen goes, "Well, I'm not pitching today. I'm gonna give me a fry."
Now, you played White Sox, Toronto, San Francisco, Cubs, and then Philadelphia. I guess being in Philly, Chicago's pretty cool being in Wrigley, but being in Philly's got to be uniquely different from all of those other stops.
It was. It's by far the most intimidating place to come and play. Only because I came here as a visitor. I mean, if you got drafted by the Phillies and say you were Mike Trout and you got drafted by the Phillies and you grew up here and lived here and you played here, it wouldn't be that bad. You would know exactly what to expect. But if you come here as a visitor, you people are mean. Then you come here as a regular. And it's funny because John Lever, I remember the name John Lever.
Sure.
He was with the Cubbies. Leaves was with the Cubbies when I was there, and when Pat Gillett called my agent and said, "Hey, we'd like to, claim Scotty and make a trade for him," I immediately asked Leaves. I'm like, "Hey, what do I expect from the city?" He goes, and you know what he told me, and I found it to be pretty true. You give everything you have, every bit of your heart, whether you have success or fail. If you own up to what you do, they'll love you for it. And I'm like, okay. So the few games where I gave up a few runs here and there, or really sucked on the mound that day. You stand in front of the media, you tell them you sucked, and you go out the next day and you do your job, and they love you like nothing ever happened the day before. It's awesome.
That wasn't normal here. You were in. By the way, real quick, Scott, in 61 games in Philly, he was 5-1 with a 162
Woo-hoo!
ERA. I mean, just dominant in your time here in Philadelphia, and also has a World Series championship. The whole team, or most of the team, will be back. There are a couple guys still hanging on. This guy Hamels is still pitching in the league. Madsen, Jay Happ is still pitching in the league. But
no, I'm so happy for him. I love that kid.
Well, what any big plans for the weekend? Are you just going to the ballpark, or do you think you guys are going to get into some extracurricular
shenanigans?
Probably the extracurricular will most likely happen at the golf outing, the alumni golf outing on Monday,
cool.
When everything's said and done. I don't think I'll be doing a whole lot too dangerous. I'm getting old now,
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, it's the coolest feeling to come back to something like this. As someone like me, I wasn't a Cole Hamels, I wasn't the starting pitcher, I was a little bitty relief pitcher, but to come back here and have all the you get people recognize you through the airport 10 years after you were here, and that, to me, is truly amazing.
Always, man. And by the way, Shane Victorino will retire as a member, and he will be celebrated as part of the Phillies-Marlins game. Yeah. So, Shane, another character, huh?
Oh, my gosh. So much fun to be around that flying Hawaiian, man. Him and Chooch yelling at each other during the game, during the day. Oh, it's hilarious. But, yeah, I am excited. I didn't know that was on the docket. He has the retirement thing till a couple days ago, so I'm excited to be here for that.
Did anybody get in touch with Myers? Is he going to put on like a country music concert?
I'm waiting. I've listened to a few songs. I've heard a few on the. My kids have told me about it. Yeah, is this the same Brett Myers you played with? I'm like, yeah. Like, he's got country songs out.
He's got a new album out, right?
New album coming out. Rattlesnake or no? Is that the brand?
Yeah, Rattlesnake.
I just listened to the Rattlesnake something. Yeah, I don't know. That guy's crazy. He's fun to be around.
All right, man.
Brett's fun to be around in small increments.
Right, small doses. We want big doses of you, buddy. We enjoy having you on, Scott Eyre.
Scott's a lot of fun. Guys, if you're going to a game this weekend, you'll run into some of the 08 guys. They're back in town for the weekend. And Scott Eyre has been our guest here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Thanks so much, man. Enjoy the weekend.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Pete. I'll talk to you guys later.
You're welcome, Scott.